We speak Oman because it hurts the bowel tongue, dummy.
Welcome to the ODH Dream Teachers Podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Evans, and I'm here with my co-host, Justin Williams. Before we start, we want to give a special shout out to the Boys and Girls Club for sponsoring us and helping us put this together. Let's get into it.
I'm in the field and I got on my cleats, and I say that dirty money make it neat.
So once again, we thank you guys for your partnership and helping the ODH Boys and Girls Club receive funding through the Community Safety Risk Grant Program to support the upgrades that will help make our club and community safe from crime. Let's jump into it.
What are some ways you're helping to make ODH a safer place for kids like us to grow up?
It's an excellent question. Look, I wish I had a magic wand, right? I think when I think about safety, the way that I think about it, and I've done this with a number of different groups, is that if you take a moment and just think, where have you felt the most safe in your life? Like if you just picture it in your mind of where did you feel the most safe? A lot of times I would bet, and I don't think I've ever run into somebody that has had anything, any alternative, but I'm sure there probably was not a metal detector. In fact, there probably was not necessarily even a law enforcement officer there. It was probably no, sort of security cameras or things that we talk about often when we think about safety and security. How people feel safe is that they are in a place where they don't have to think about their safety. It's just assumed. They can be themselves. They can be their best self. And so I think when we think about a place like the Boys and Girls Club here, this is a space where young people get to explore new ideas, get to try new things like this podcast, and don't have to think about whether or not they're safe while they're here. That to me is what true safety feels like. And the more we can replicate spaces like this, the safer our city will be.
So as you said, when you said you really wouldn't want certain people to have to think about their safety. When we're in a city of a very high crime rate, what do you think could be some of the steps that you guys could take to step in and help lower that crime rate?
Yeah, look, I don't think there's one single answer, and I think that's really important because a lot of people, when they think about safety and when people are scared, they want an easy response. It's a natural thing for any person to do is to say, well, what is the thing that's going to fix this situation? I think some of the challenges that we experience here in the city of Baltimore, they're very different depending on if it's a young person versus an older person. I heard somebody say this recently, that when somebody commits an act of crime, there's normally three reasons why. Or one of three reasons. Either it's a crime of passion, they're angry, they're frustrated, they want something that somebody else has that they feel frustrated about. It's a crime of necessity, they're hungry, so they're stealing to eat, or they're doing something else that's causing them, they need to engage in that. And then third is the crime of addiction, in which somebody has an addiction that causes them to really make bad decisions. And so if you don't deal with those underlying causes of trying to help somebody moderate their emotions in crimes of passion, or if you don't give them the things they need like economic opportunity, you have more crimes of necessity. If you don't deal with addiction and the issues that we have with substance abuse in the city, you're going to have more crimes based out of that addiction. And so we have to be able to hold people accountable when they do something wrong, but we've got to also make sure that we're investing in the things that prevent people from wanting to engage in crime in the first place.
Can you tell us about any cool programs or activities in the community that help us learn how to stay safe and make good choices?
Yeah, look, I would say, what the Boys and Girls Club here is doing is exactly it. And it's not talking about making a good or bad choice. It's showing you opportunities that you have in the future so that you make those choices yourself. I think that's the key, is that it's not about you're teaching somebody to see their future. And I think that's the best crime reduction tool we can have, is if somebody feels like they have a future, then they are going to do the things that are going to make themselves better. The other thing that I'm a huge proponent of is YouthWorks for the summer. It is one of the best programs that we have, helping young people get job exposure, get some money in their pockets so that they can, have a good summer, but show up to work every day, learn what it's like to be in a job. I think it's one of my favorite programs in the city, and I'm a huge proponent of it because I think those summer months are long if you don't have other things to do.
How can young people in O'Donnell Heights get involved in making our neighborhood safer?
Well, first, I would say you're doing it right now. I think having conversations, I would say, most importantly, don't underestimate your own power. You may be under 18, you may be younger, but your voice matters. And I think that is the key. And I think we're seeing that over and over across the globe, honestly, where young people are stepping up and saying, we're scared. We're worried about climate change. We're worried about gun violence. We're worried about our future. And so I think that's really changing people's opinions. It feels like a long, long time ago when I was in your shoes, but kind of being an adult or having any authority felt like forever away, and it's not. And in fact, your voice matters today, right now. And so I think bringing other elected officials in and giving them your opinion, it really does change what we think and how we approach different issues.
Are there any youth councils or programs we can join?
There are a number, especially in the city of Baltimore, has a number of great programs. There's the student youth. It's the youth student government, which is a really effective body for advocating on behalf of young people. I know the mayor has a youth cabinet that ranges from ages, I think it's 14 to 25, of making recommendations to the mayor. We have a Maryland youth cabinet for making recommendations to the governor. So there are a lot of opportunities. Any that you would suggest? Either of you?
Me personally, I think in school we had a student government association, so it was mostly of students coming together, and when the students came together, they would plan out these certain events or like dances and stuff like that and field trips in order to get the school together as a community rather than being more separated. And just trying to build a good relationship between the principal and the students all together.
It's crucial.
Same thing.
Yeah. Excellent.
Do you have any advice for kids our age on how to stay safe when we're out?
That's a great question. It always depends on the situation. Be aware, of course, but make good choices. I have 2 kids, and I tell them all the time, make choices that make us proud and make yourself proud. I think that at the end of the day, it's not necessarily what an adult's going to say. It's going to be a choice that you choose to make on your own and with your own peers. And so I think, really just seeking to be a leader to help others is crucial. I think it's tough as a young person to try and break against the mold. When a group is making a challenging decision, it's hard to be the one to say hey, can we think about this a different way? But those are the true difference makers. Those are the people that really change the world. And so I'd encourage you to find that voice to help people be their best self.
So as you might know, there is a viral trend going around with the Kia boys and Hyundai boys and stuff like that. How do you think us as a city, how do you think we can come together and make sure that we can lower or completely stop this trend at any time?
Yeah, I wish. I wish there were an easy answer to this one. I think social media has really made things really hard. It's normalized types of behaviors for kind of clicks and likes, and what is popular is the thing that gets the most eyeballs, not necessarily the right thing to do. And so, I think that it's a tough time for young people to face a lot of those pressures. I think at the end of the day, it's not necessarily, people have to be held accountable. There's no question, but it's not about arresting more kids and throwing them into juvenile facilities. That's not the answer. The answer is for a change within young people to say, this isn't who we are, and this isn't what we want our future to be. And it's going to have to come from within and within communities, saying that, what we value is people trying to be good neighbors, be part of a community. I know that's really tough, and it sounds kind of probably lame in some ways, but that's the only way real change happens, is by people making the choice to care about their neighbor and to find a way to build their own slice of the world. And so I wish I had a better answer. You have any thoughts? I'd love your idea.
I don't really have any thoughts, but when we go back to speaking on good neighbors and being in neighborhoods of such, I think that there is kind of like a ratio of good to bad neighborhoods in the city or in the state of Maryland, Baltimore County, anything that it is. But I feel most that some of the bad communities put more of a positive image on the negative, like the negative perspectives of life. So how do you think that maybe people in the good neighborhoods can make it to give it like a good comeback to, say like, this is not right. Maybe you should, use your head more, or think good on anything that you can do in life to stop these certain actions.
It's interesting. One of the best places I've been was in Brooklyn. This place called Red Hook. They have what's called a community justice. It's the community justice problem solving court. And what they do is that when somebody does something that impacts negatively the community, they have a restorative practice. And so what happens is the person that was harmed. So let's say somebody was spray painting on a building. The person who's building, the person that was spray painting sort of thinks like, this is no big deal. I'm spray painting. I'll get away with it. Maybe it's a funny thing I did or whatever. Well, the person who had the harm done to them, the building owner, the person that lives there, will have a conversation with the person and say, listen, I had to spend 35 minutes scrubbing off this paint, and it caused me to miss my bus, which then caused me to be late for work, which meant that there was another, reason for I could lose my job. And it made the person who did this, what seems like a harmless thing with spray painting, have to stop and think like, wait a second, I never really thought about all of that. And I think it's that restorative, helping people to see the how the harm impacts somebody personally, I think is the only real way to make change. You can have a sentence of community service or put somebody in a jail. I just think people have to make the choice to make different decisions. You don't force that on someone. And the real challenge, I think, is how do we do it for a whole city? And I don't think we've quite figured out that answer. It starts with one person at a time.
All right, that was the last question for us. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. You are going to be the leaders we need. So keep up the great work.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.